Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to take a look at Midwinter's Day. It is coming up very soon now. So here we are on the 21st of December. Of course, it is unlikely that the sky will be so perfectly blue here in Ireland as we're seeing it here. Not completely impossible, of course. We can also see how incredibly low to the horizon the sun is. So moving forward, we won't have to move forward long because the sunset is so early here in Ireland at this time of the year. You can see here at 4:30, the sun is down. There's Venus emerging. Jupiter not quite out yet, but well, I won't say that Venus is visible as early as 4:30, not in the city, but certainly by 5 o'clock, even 4:45. Yeah, here we are, 4:45, and Venus is very clearly visible, and Jupiter's already in the sky as well. It is visible, though it is a little bit fainter than Venus. Of course, Venus followed by Jupiter are the two brightest objects that we only see at nighttime. So not counting the moon, not counting the sun, Venus and Jupiter are the next two brightest objects in the sky in that order. If we keep moving forward, then we'll get Saturn, and we may see a couple of bright stars emerging before Saturn, really. Of course, I sped through time a little quickly there, but some of these stars would have popped out ahead of Saturn. Even though Saturn is quite bright and very easily visible to the naked eye, it's still fainter than some of the bright stars. Coming up to 6 o'clock, and it will be pretty much perfectly dark by 6 o'clock. We're not quite there yet. There's still a little bit of orange-yellow glow over on the western horizon. But there we are, just about 6 o'clock, just shy of 6 o'clock. There might still be a faint glow over there towards the west, but the sky is essentially dark. It's essentially as dark as it's going to get. I have been over the general features of the sky recently, so of course the square of Pegasus is still there nice and high to the south as the sun goes down, and the summer triangle, of course, in midwinter, it won't be up for very long at all, so it's already quite close to the western horizon. We'll keep moving forward because, of course, we still have Mars to come into the sky as well as Mercury in the morning. So we're going to go from sunset on midwinter through to sunrise really the following day, but we will come back then to sunrise on midwinter because, of course, that is auspicious, especially here in Ireland. So I'll go back there and double check if we do on midwinter get Mars and Venus into the sky at the same time. We do just barely. So really, practically, this would be very difficult to see Venus and Mars at the same time. You'd need a very clear horizon, both in the practically northeast and down in the southwest. So pretty much 180 degrees of clear horizon, which is difficult to get anywhere, particularly in cities. But if you're not in a city, you're in the countryside. And if you're not in a desert or a very flat area like a salt flat, there's probably going to be trees. If not, there'll be terrain, there'll be mountains and valleys. Getting up on a mountain, up on a high point, that can really, really help. So we are past the opposition of Jupiter now, or nearly past the opposition of Jupiter. So Jupiter should be at least hitting behind that tree as the glow of the sun starts to come up. We should get at least 3 planets in the sky. I do think Mercury will show up before Jupiter goes under the horizon. Nearly. We'll double check it with the 0 horizon, but there's Jupiter, and Mercury should be just down over there. We'll double check it with the 0 horizon in a second, but there we go. There's Mercury. So you can see they're really, really close. Perhaps if the horizon was completely flat, we'd be able to pull it off. But here we are. As I said, this is the morning after midwinter, or the night of midwinter. So we're seeing Mercury there, 7 o'clock, as late as 7 o'clock in the morning. There's barely a trace of sunlight coming through from the sunrise. So from about 5:30, 6 o'clock until 7 o'clock, it's dark. Nighttime lasts quite a while in the middle of winter here in Ireland, and then we can see the sun actually starting to rise. So from the sun going under the horizon to coming over the horizon, we're looking at really half 4, 5 o'clock to about 9:30 in the morning. So incredibly long nights in midwinter here in Ireland. Of course, they are much longer in more northerly latitudes. If you are above the Arctic Circle, of course, night will last for several days, weeks, or even months. if you're close enough to the North Pole. So here we are on the actual morning of midwinter, the morning when midwinter begins. And we can see definitely Mars, definitely the Moon, definitely Mercury. Let's see if Jupiter is visible under the hypothetical situation where the horizon would be completely flat. And of course, this is really hypothetical. We don't have really anywhere that is perfectly smooth and flat all the way to the horizon on all sides here on Earth. There we go. Yeah, so hypothetically, in this sort of theoretical landscape, you get to see Jupiter and Mercury at the exact same time, which is really cool. And we can see here as well how Mercury is rising, very, very close to the southeast, whereas Jupiter is over here setting practically in the northwest. So we can see that kind of tilt of the expected passage of the ecliptic. If we were looking at one of the equinoxes, we'd see the ecliptic going from east to west, whereas now we're seeing the ecliptic at this very different angle from southeast to northwest. And of course, it would be the opposite were we to look at this time, or, the equivalent in midsummer. Of course, if we looked at the sky at 7 o'clock in the morning in midsummer here in Ireland, it would already be nice and bright. The sun would have already risen. We're going to come back to the normal viewpoint that we give, Gerains, and we will move through the day or up to sunrise and then through to sunset again. So there's the sun rising. If we take a closer look, this will be easier without the atmosphere. Of course, the atmosphere does make the sun look like it's risen a little bit before it actually has, thanks to the refraction of light by the atmosphere. So that can make the sun, you can actually see it. We might be able to show there, the sun is practically on top of the bushes, and then you can see there's a much more significant clearance once we have the atmosphere. So the atmosphere does make a difference. A thick atmosphere makes the sun appear to rise earlier and appear to set later. And even with that help, even with that extra minute or two, the days are still incredibly short for winter here in Ireland, particularly midwinter. You can see that the sun is rising incredibly close to the southeast. That's the furthest south that the sunrise will occur all year. Once we get through to midsummer, the sunrise will happen much further to the northeast, and on midsummer's morning, it's as northeasterly as it can get. So this is the principle that allows passage tombs like Brunabona or Newgrange here in Ireland to keep track of the seasons. So when the sun rises on midwinter, that's the only time in the year that the sun is far enough southeast to shine through the little keyhole passage. There's a gap above the doorway into Newgrange, and the sun will shine straight down the passage of that passage tomb only when the sun rises at its most southeasterly point. So, of course, that takes a lot of very careful measuring, but it does also show that there we go, setting in the southwest. So any planets rising would be way over in the northeast. We'll see that with Jupiter in a moment. But of course, the fact that Newgrange was constructed with an understanding that the sun would only light it up on this particular date on midwinter, it would be a massive coincidence if that simply happened, given that they could have pointed it in any direction. The fact that it happened specifically on midwinter makes it interesting. If you have a gap pointed at the roughly eastern horizon, it will, the sun will rise and shine through that gap. As long as the gap is big enough, the sun goes incrementally along the horizon in its sunrise and in its sunset as well. The sun moves day by day, setting all the way down here in the southwest for midwinter. It will set further and further north. It'll set directly in the west when we're at the equinox. So technically, if you have anything that you can use to sort of make a viewport, a viewing space pointed along either the western-ish horizon or the eastern-ish horizon, there will be a date in the year when the sun rises or sets and shines directly through that gap. But for it to be one of the extremes, knowing that it's only going to happen at that very extreme, that does show some understanding on the part of the prehistoric people of our, well, Stone Age people of Ireland. Newgrange was ages and ages ago, of course. We'll turn around here just to see if we can catch it. So, of course, Jupiter is already well above the horizon there. But just when it first appears, you can see if we imagined the ecliptic coming down here. I'll bring up the ecliptic line just to give a demonstration of it rotating across the sky. So midwinter is coming up. We get midwinter once a year, every year. So of course we will get to see it this year as well. If I can get the line to come up, there we go. Oh, that is, yeah, I think I want the epoch ecliptic. There we go. Which is specific to this epoch. So we can see there the ecliptic way down in the northeast and down in the southwest here. And if we lean back and go through the night, you'll see how that chord across the sky sort of moves. And we can see there at midnight, it's lining up directly east and directly west. And then as we push forward to sunrise, we can see that line cutting through the southeast. And we'll move back just to double check the opposite at sunset. And there's the ecliptic just as the sun is setting, pretty much cutting through the northeast. So we get that kind of rolling of the ecliptic, that sort of way it swishes almost across the sky. We get that every night, but it is specifically at midwinter that we'll get our sunrise further southeast. At other times of the year, the swish sort of falls out of sync. So where we see it, where we see the sunrise will change. So that is a quick look ahead to just the planets and roughly how the sky will look as we move through midwinter. I hope you're excited for it, and hopefully you will stick around to see future videos coming out closer to the date of midwinter. I will look ahead to Christmas and New Year's and the end of the year in particular in upcoming videos. If you'd like to make sure that you see those videos, it helps if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also like this video to support more videos in the future and show that you liked it. You can also read some of this information on my website, greevingscontent.ie. So thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.